because of so much of advancements these days, because communication is taking the center stage. No matter which area we are working into, we should know how to communicate our point of view effectively. So effectively doesn't mean that we talk loud or we are extremely, bold while we are talking. We can be subtle. We can be, we can talk in a very nice and sophisticated way, yet we can express what we want to say. Very important thing is presentation. These days, whether we like it or whether we don't like it, whether we agree to this or we don't agree to this, presentation is very important. So all of us should know how to present our point of view or our topic or whatever we want to communicate in a nice way. It should come out in a very nice and appealing way. Okay. So going to the first, oh, my slide is not moving. Ah, okay. So now coming to the first point, which is strategies for success in fast-paced environment. How do we, what are the strategies or what are the key things that we should keep into mind when we want to have success in such a fast moving time? First and foremost thing, clear message, clear and short, right? So your message has to be very clear, short and crisp. Instead of, writing an entire, if it is a written communication, instead of writing an entire paragraph, just put your points in bullet formats, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, you want to communicate something to another department in your office, right? So instead of writing that issue or writing that information in paragraphs, because that becomes difficult to understand, always put it in points. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the points, right? Or if you feel okay, I want to communicate three different things and each of them have a point. So make one big point, put bullets under it. Second big point, bullets under it. Third big point, bullets under it. So when the person who's receiving the message, when they read it or when they go through it, it becomes easier for them to understand what you are trying to say. Also, when you put these points and have bullets under it, it makes easier for the person to understand that whatever you're saying is is put across in proper manner. Okay, so point number one has these three topics. Point number two has these three issues, and point number three has these three issues. So it will not mix up your issues, right? Second, leveraging the technology. Post COVID, we all have known that technology has played a very, very, very important role in communication. For example, earlier, if somebody has to do a deal in New York, right? So they have to fly down to New York to have a lunch and discuss over the lunch about their deals or whatever. But these days, everybody's leveraging the technology. People are using different softwares. Like I'm also taking this session on a Zoom platform rather than physically doing it, right? Which is cost effective and this is which is convenient. So we need to. There are a lot of technical tools which we can use. I will tell about those tools later on. But it is very important for us to leverage those tools, right? Now, communication always has two parts. One is speaking. The other one is listening. The person who's speaking obviously has to speak in the right way. But apart from that, the listener also should be a good listener. A lot of problem happens when people don't have a habit of listening or people don't have a habit of taking down the notes in the right manner, right? Because we are in a hurry to put our points across that we don't end up listening to what the other person is saying. Or maybe because we are not focused on what they're saying, we might skip out a few points, which might create a problem for us later on, right? So, apart from that, there are different ways in which we can communicate, which is verbal, non-verbal, which we'll discuss later. So, very importantly or very precisely, if I would say, be clear and precise in what you want to say, leverage the technology, and be an active listener. Okay, going to the next point, why communication matters. We've talked about what are the strategies we can go for. Next, we're going to talk about why is communication important. Why should we focus on having an effective communication, right? A lot of people will say, "Ki, "Arey, I don't work in corporates, or maybe I'm not into businesses. Still, why should I get into communication? I'll just say my bit and get done with it." It doesn't work that way, especially these days, right? So, why should we communicate in the right way? is because if we are communicating in the right way, if we are communicating the message in the correct manner, it is going to help us build trust and credibility. So when you talk to somebody in your other departments or maybe any stakeholders, when you are communicating in the right way, when you're giving them the right message, when you're giving them the right information, it is going to help you build trust and credibility. And the foundation of anything is trust and credibility. If somebody they do have trust in you, they are going to support you when you need them, right? And that is very important in the official, in your professional spaces. Second, it ensures alignment across teams, right? When we are communicating in the right way, it is going to it is going to help us have proper alignment across teams. For example, somebody is running a business in which they have production team, in which they have sales team, in which they have marketing team, they have finance team. Now in these scenarios, communication becomes very difficult, right? Because the finance person will talk only from their financial aspect, the product team person will talk only from the point of view of making the product better in terms of how competitors perceive it. The salesperson will only think about how should I be able to sell this product in a better way. So the product should be modified according to that way. And the marketing team will only talk about their marketing budgets, which they need to bring the brand visibility. Now, when an organization is having a proper alignment across the teams. When the top management says that, okay, I want my product in a certain way, I want my sales team to deal with the clients in a certain way, I want my marketing team to work in a certain way so that the brand visibility happens, and I want my finance team to make sure these are the expenses, these are our budgets, and we don't cross them, right? So when this information goes in the right way to all the teams, and when there's an alignment in between all the different teams, that's when our business will grow. If we talk about our universities or colleges also, every university and college will have different departments there as well. Having the right alignment or having the right coordination between all the departments is very important, right? Next is promotes transparency and open feedback. When you know the person who's communicating any information or who's downloading I would say any instructions to you, when you know them that you can trust them, they're credible, they're going to give you the right information, they are there to help you and support you, it is going to promote transparency, right? And when there's transparency, when there's credibility, when there's trust, that is when you can sit across the table and have a genuine discussion with them. You can share your feedbacks with them. Why will you be able to share your feedbacks? Because you will know the person on the other end is ready to sit there, be transparent, and listen to my feedback. This is very important in case of sales department, because sales people who handles the sales department, or not just sales department, people who handles customer facing, these are the ones who are actually going and meeting the customers, right? Person sitting in the production house will not know what customer want. Person sitting in the finance department, person sitting in other departments will never know what the customer wants. But the ones who is sitting across the table with the customer, for the one who is meeting the customer regularly is the only one who knows what customer wants, and they are the ones who can come back to the office and very openly discuss their feedbacks about the product of the review of the product, the reviews that customers are giving, and collectively looking at the market, looking at the competitors, what they feel, right? Because your sales department people are the one who are also meeting the sales department people of other companies, maybe your competitors, right? So they are the people who can give you right feedback. But when will they do it? Only when they feel that they can trust you and there is absolute transparency. So it is very important that we communicate in the right way so that it promotes transparency, which will give us feedback. See, when any organization or maybe an individual, when they want to grow, feedback is the most important thing. If at every stage in life, at every step in life, we are bound to do something which might not be 100% correct and apt, right? But at that point in time, if there's somebody who's giving us an open and genuine feedback, it actually helps us grow, right? Like how we do when we have students in the college, we talk to them, right? We give them feedbacks that this is the area you need to work on, these are the areas you need to focus on. Why? Because those constructive feedbacks are the one which are going to actually help students. In the same way, constructive feedback is something which is going to help startups. Constructive feedback is something going to help businesses grow. Why? Because that gives me a clear understanding of what is the review about my product or my service. Right? I mean, I know, okay, this is where my product is lacking, or this is where my service is lacking. I can actually work on it. Right? Next point, visual, right? Your visual means something that describes or something that shows your brand, right? Your visuals should be simple graphics of interconnected people and icons representing the communication. Now, for example, if I think everybody must be aware about Facebook, right? Everybody must be aware about brand like Instagram. I'm talking about the social media brands. If we come down to some products or services, if we go to automobile industry, we all know about Suzuki, we all know about Mahindra, right? We all know about Tata. Why? Because their graphics, their logos, their icons are very simple, and they themselves speak about the product, right? So the T of Tata talks about Tata, the M of Mahindra, right? The M of Meta. Earlier it was F for Facebook. These are some things which are very designed in a very nice way, but they are very simple graphics which tells you about how what the brand is all about. At the same time, there are some brands uh, who just who obviously with the right intention, they want to present their brand in a nice way, but eventually they end up overdoing it, right? And which actually dilutes the entire image of the brand, which doesn't give out the right information to the people. I've seen it for some I would say colleges, that when they want to give information about their college, so instead, or maybe the university, instead of writing, they can simply write, okay, from KG to PG, or maybe from KG to PhD. That means that they have everything starting from class KG to PG or maybe PhD. But what they will do instead, on one single artwork, they are going to write about all of their courses. Now, anybody who is driving on the highway, or maybe who's just going through a say 1 second ad, they are not going to read everything, right? So when you are presenting your brand or maybe your company in a place where you know that the attention span is hardly a second or maybe a few seconds, when somebody is just crossing that space, you need to make sure that your graphic or your artwork should be very simple and just it should just talk about your brand, right? It should not talk about what you're giving. When somebody reads about your brand, if they're really interested, they will go back and search about it, right? But at the same time, if you're giving a newspaper ad, at that point in time, you can give a flyer which is going to write, where you can write about all your courses and diplomas and this and that, right? Because at that point in time, somebody is going to hold your flyer and they're going to read it, right? Same way, this is why I give you this example, because it makes easier for people to understand. Same way, when you are doing any communication for your organization, whenever you're writing down something or maybe you're creating a presentation or whatever, it should be very simple, clean, with the right words, using the right vocabulary, and you're going to do the effective communication, right? If you look at my slide is very simple. I've just written the main topics, and I've written the sub points to it. There are no fancy designs to my slide. There are no I would say um, images to it, right? Because we just want to communicate something, and I feel the best way is, because we are not presenting a product. The best way is to present it in this way. Just a second. right? So that is the reason for us to present our information in the very right and in the precise manner. Now, talking about the type of communication, what are the types of communication which are there? One is internal communication, one is external communication. First, communication, where we are having a collaboration within our team, wherein we are sharing the feedbacks and updates within the team, right? So, my finance department, my product department, product team, my sales team, and all these people are sitting together. They are sharing each other's feedback. Finance person is saying, I'm tight with the budget. Sorry, I can't do this. Product team is saying, I need this because my competitor is serving this. I have to add this service to my, I have to add this particular feature to my product. Marketing team is saying that I need a higher budget. Why? Because the expenses have gone up. I need to shoot myself on so and so platform, and so platform is very expensive. That is how all the teams are sitting across the table in a constructive way, in with the positive mindset. They all are sitting across the table and talking about these things. Next, sharing the updates and feedbacks. When all these departments they go back,
काय नाही म्हणलं
do
ते
their
ती
work,
विचार होती
come back with the
झाले का
feedback, they come
संपले
and discuss it.
आहे ना माझी पण हे
Next
हे चालू आहे
important,
ट्रेनिंग चालू आहे
external
ट्रेनिंग
communication, right?
ट्रेनिंग चालू आहे
What all do we have in
त्याला
external
मग 100
communication?
रुपये जास्त माझी
Engaging
परीक्षा
with the
असते ना ऑनलाईन
customer.
हा आले ना नाही बघितलं ना मी
What all do we have in external communication? In external communication, we have to engage with the customer and stakeholders. This is very important. When your customers are the ones who are going to give you all the visibility in the world, they are the ones who are going to give you your revenues. So, at some places we read that customer is the king. Why do we read that? That customer is the king, right? Because they are the ones who are either going to make or break your brand. So, engaging with the customers and your stakeholders has to be done in the most apt way. No mistakes entertained there, right? No company, no organization, whether a university, whether a startup, whether a business, no matter what, you can't make mistakes when you're engaging with your customers. If you talk about universities also, universities or colleges also need to make sure that we are giving out the right information about the course, about the fee structure, about the extra things to the students and their parents in the very right way. Same goes for the business. Businesses need to inform the customers and their stakeholders about the features, hidden charges in the very clear and precise way. There was a time, now it's not happening that bad, but if you talk about a few years down the line, every organization was getting engaged in adding hidden fees, to their products and services, and that is when people had started losing trust on a lot of brands. So, at one point in time, you're going to add hidden fees. You might end up making some money, but you need to understand in the long run, you're going to lose your customer, which is going to backfire on your business very badly. So, engaging with the customers and stakeholders and giving them clear information, being transparent with them is very important. Second is marketing and public relations. Now we all know all the big brands out there in the world. You talk about Tatas, Mahindras, Voltas, any big brand you talk about, every brand is having a marketing team and public relations. And let me tell you, all these brands, they spend huge, huge, huge money on marketing and public relations. Their budgets for marketing and PR are extremely high. Why is it that way, right? Big companies sitting out there already selling their products in the market for years, still they are spending so much of money in public relation till date. Why? Because they know that marketing and public relation is something which is actually going to make their brand and make it grow. No matter how good your product is, no matter how good your service is, if you do not know or if you do not spend on your marketing, and if you do not spend on your public relations, the business is going to suffer. That is the ground reality, right? And whenever you plan to start any business, whenever you plan to start any startup, initially Okay, in the initial phase, you might not need to run into marketing and PR, right? Because you're small and at that time you're capturing only the small area or the small share of the target audience out there. But as you grow, as you plan to expand, you need to keep a significant amount in your budget for marketing and public relation. And not just that, apart from that, your marketing and public relation has to be very precise. Adding to it, okay. So you need to make sure that uh, when you are communicating your business in the right way, people do get the right message about your business. Biggest problem that people face in public relations or marketing about their brand is when that brand reaches a different, I would say, a different region, right? Because especially in India, in every state you have multiple languages, right? So when the brand reaches a different state, the meaning for a lot of words change, which has actually created a lot of ruckus for a lot of brands out there. So you need to make sure that if you are giving any specific brand name to your product or to your service, and when you're trying to go to a different market, it should not end up creating a problem or a mess for you, right? That is very important that when you're touch basing a different region, you are making sure your brand or the brand name should be sensitive towards their language, their culture, their sentiments, right? Now, there's something called as one-way communication. There's something called as two-way communication. One-way communication, that means only the information is going out, right? Generally, it happens in the online, I would say online sessions, right? Only the speaker is speaking, but there is no revert coming from the public out there. Two-way communication is what I said in the beginning of this, that when there's a two-way communication, right, people are communicating. If I am saying something, I am getting a feedback, right? If you people have any questions, if you people have any doubt and queries, you're coming back and telling me, okay, this is the doubt and this is the query I have. One-way communication will just give out the information, but two-way communication is something which is going to tell you what is the feedback, what is the problem, what is the issue. Now, if in case when I'm sharing these points with you, if any of you have any question, any doubt, or any queries, and you ask me, that's where I understand. Okay, this is where somebody wants to understand more about this area, right? But if you don't ask me, I will never understand if you would want me to share more examples or more information about any of the topic. So that is the reason two-way communication is very important. Two-way communication also means constructive feedback. Now, my feedback is something which is going to tell me if my product or my service or my communication is going out in the right way or not. If it is not going in the right way, what is that I need to change? All right. And in external communication, next thing is visual, which means icon representing external and internal communication. As I told you, that when we talk about Meta and all, right, their brands are something which are giving us the right. So when we're talking about brands like Meta, M clearly says, okay, it's for Meta. F clearly said, okay, it's for Facebook. So that is the reason our icons and logos should be very clear. The visuals have to be very clear and precise. As I gave you an example of a college wherein the university or that college had written all their courses in one single hoarding, right? If I'm driving on a highway, I will never have a time to read everything. What am I going to do? I might just read the name of the college or maybe the university, and if I'm interested, I'll go back and check. But I'm never going to stand there or stop my car and read out everything. right? So that is the reason our external communication has to be proper and precise. Okay. Now, what are the common communication challenges in startup? This is not just reference to startups. It can also be for any businesses out there. First and foremost important thing, which I've been saying from the very beginning, having a proper communication between teams. Now, a miscommunication between teams or internal department is going to create chaos. For example, my finance team says, I don't have the money, I don't have 4 crores for marketing. Marketing team says, I need 4 crores because this is what I'm planning, right? That is the reason when the finance team is creating the budget, at that point in time itself, they should inform the marketing department that this is the budget allocated for you and you have to work within these 4 squares, considering that the marketing department is going to modify their entire year planning, right? They are going to plan, okay, this is the budget I have in hand. No matter what I want to do, no matter what target audience I want to target in this particular year, I cannot go beyond this. I have to use this 4 crores in the most apt way. This is about bigger businesses. If we talk about say, smaller businesses who might not have 4 crores, they might just have say 2 lakh rupees for the communication for marketing and PR. That is the reason when the team needs to go to a proper digital marketing company, meet them, tell them, okay, this is the only budget I have for the entire year. Please help me to reach my target audience. Now, it is very important for the startups to understand that if your budget is low, you can't expect to reach a very large number of audience, right? Because the kind of money you spend, the according to that, they are going to do SEOs. So there's something called as SEOs, right? In your search engine, when they are doing the social media planning. Now, the kind of money I'm going to spend, according to that, I have to sit with my digital marketing team or maybe the person to whom I've outsourced to understand that what is the kind of money I should be spending on my maybe Instagram, what is the kind of money I should be spending maybe on my WhatsApp commercial messagings, what kind of money should I be spending on my maybe YouTube ads, right? And or XYZ. So there are multiple ways these days. You can run ads on YouTube, you can run ads on your Netflix, you can run ad on various platforms, Truecaller and all these things. So depending upon the kind of money you spend, you will get to understand what is the kind of platform you can choose right now. Next is lack of clarity in messaging. When you're sending your messages across, if you know I can only send a message of say 60 keywords, right? You need to make sure those 60 words that you're choosing, or maybe those 120 or 300 letters that you're choosing, alphabets that you're choosing, they should be the correct words. They should communicate your entire message in that shortest possible way, right? Because if you plan to put everything in one small message, it will never happen. Your message, when you have a shortage of when you're tight with the number of words you can use, you need to make sure that the message should only give out the basic information about what the brand is offering, right? Very short and precise. What people, if there's somebody, if it reaches the right target audience, they will go back, search for the brand name on Google or Safari or whatever, and they will find the more information about that particular brand. But it should not be a confusing message. Now, coming to cultural language differences, as I just told you, that if you are doing marketing and PR, and if you're trying to target a different region, make sure you're not creating any problems in that particular culture, in that particular language. You have to be very careful because there are a lot of words which might have different meaning in different languages, right? There are a lot of words which might be culturally hurting to another region, which might be okay in the previous one. So when you're trying to expand your boundaries, please make sure You are taking care of their cultural and language differences. Next, overall over reliance on emails and text. Very important. And I have seen this mistake being done with by a lot of startups and also by a lot of I would say universities and colleges, that they overly rely on emails and texts. We need to understand that the era of email and texts has faded away a lot and is still fading, right? So we can't be, just because it is less expensive, just because you can save your money there, doesn't mean it is going to help you. Please understand, if it is less expensive, there is a reason for it being less expensive, right? So obviously our emails and text messages should go to our clients on regular basis, but don't overly depend or don't just be dependent on that particular thing, right? Visual, a simple icon or a graphic showing a disconnect or a miscommunication. Now, very important, if my product is talking about, for example, if my product is a food brand, right? But I am giving them the pictures of some other thing which it might not relate to, right? It is going to create a problem. Why? Because if it is a food brand, it should show some image which is related to any kind of food, right? For example, if in food I am into biscuits, right? And my product is showing the images of glass, it is not going to connect, right? My images have to show maybe some sugar crystals or maybe some choco chips or maybe some cookies, right? Because this is how it is going to get it is going to help my customers to connect with my product. So if there's a wrong graphic which is being used, it can create serious miscommunication, and this company or the organization will be into a serious problem. Why I'm saying that? Because once if your brand name is associated by people in some other certain way, it will take you lifetime to change it, right? Today, uh, if Tata is connected with trust, it has taken them lifetime. Few things go wrong with the securities of Tata, it will take them entire lifetime to build it, right? So small little issues or small little disconnects can be seriously damaging to your startup. So you have to make sure that your icons, graphic, communication, everything is apt when you are touching, when you are hitting the market. If it takes extra time to proofread everything, if it takes extra time to recheck everything, please do that. If you say, "Ki, okay, I have to launch my so and so ad in next 7 days," but if you feel that okay, tomorrow I have to launch my ad, but still it's not going in the right way, hold it. Take one more day, proofread, make the changes whatever required. But please make sure you're not throwing up any wrong information into the market, because you will not be able to rectify it. And if once people or your target audience feel that you are giving out the wrong information in the market, they will not have trust in you, because they will say, if they themselves are not communicating their product in the right way, how can we trust them that they will give us the right product or the service, right? So it is also going to damage your credibility. Coming to the next one, best practices for effective communication: clarity and brevity, right? Keep your messages short and to the point, right? As we first said, it should be clear and crisp message. Next is active listening. As I said, that it should be a two-way communication. When somebody is speaking, the person on the receiving end should also be an active listener, right? And we as individuals, we all are very good speakers, but we are not good listeners, right? So we need to make sure, at least in the profession, it should be done in both professional and personal way, but at least in the professional space, be a good listener, right? That solves a lot of problems. Have patience when you're listening to somebody. Even if you feel like responding, wait, let them complete. Listen to everything that they want to say. Communicate back when you feel okay, they're done with their bit. Now it's time for you to speak. Okay. Next is consistency. We need to ensure that if you are sending messages or if we are sending emails, there has to be a consistency, right? We can't send randomly keep sending messages. Maybe I'm sending them today. and then I'm not sending them after a few days, okay? Or maybe I'm using one channel, but I'm not focusing on the other channel. We should not do that. We should sit down with the marketing team or maybe with the PR agency, understand from them that which is the right, according to my product or my service or my domain, which is the right channel and which are the channels I should be focusing on, where should I be investing XYZ amount of money. Allocation of funds has to be very important. Okay. Then using the right tools. Use collaborative tools like Slack, Trello. There are multiple technological tools available these days which are going to help you do the communication the right way. For example, Zoom, which we are using right now, instead of doing a physical face-to-face session, we are doing an online session. This is also one of the technological tools. Visuals, which we have been talking about since the beginning of the session, we need to checklist the icon or simple graphic showing the communication, right? It is very important that we are giving out the message in the right way. We are using the right graphics and we are using the right icons. Okay, as we were discussing about the tools, what are the tools for effective communication? We need to understand what kind of information we are talking about, what kind of communication we are talking about. For example, if I'm talking about internal team, collaboration, discussion between my teams, day-to-day communication between my team, then we can go for Slack and Microsoft Teams. These are the good softwares. Microsoft is something which is used by really big organizations out there, so it is very reliable as well. So we can go for Slack or Microsoft. If you want to do a video conferencing, we can use Zoom. We can use a Google Meet. Very important. Please do not use WhatsApp video for doing a video conferencing. That's very unprofessional, number one. Secondly, WhatsApp is not a professional platform. WhatsApp is it's kind of it's a platform which is used for personal communication, right? These days, people are using WhatsApp groups to do their, to have those WhatsApp groups, with their teams, which is just for internal team discussion, which is okay. But when you're doing any kind of an, I would say, external communication, when you're trying to talk to your clients, when you're trying to set up a meeting with your clients, please do not think of going for WhatsApp video calls. Make it a proper, schedule a proper Zoom call or a Google Meet call and take it. If you feel you have a call scheduled, you're in a scenario wherein you can't take the call, you're in a meeting or whatever, still do not opt for WhatsApp video calls. Tell them, okay, we need to reschedule the meeting because I have so and so urgent thing which has come up. But please avoid WhatsApp because I see people doing WhatsApp video calls. He was our client. He's your client, but you need to understand it is going to bring down your professional image in front of the in front of your client. So be very professional. Some people say कि अरे चलता है अभी क्या इतना प्रोफेशनल करना है, ठीक है एक लाइन का मेल भेज दो, व्हाट्सएप पे बात करो. Don't do that. Whatever image you create for your brand is something that the customer and your stakeholder is going to carry. आप जितने प्रोफेशनल रहोगे उतना ही आपका कस्टमर आपको वैल्यू देगा. ये ग्राउंड रूल है पूरे सिस्टम का, राइट? सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी प्रोफेशनल. यू हैव टू use the right technological tools when you are coordinating, when you're communicating with your clients. Apart from that, even when you are when you're writing emails, you have to make sure you're using the right vocabulary, the fluency of your sentence is perfect, right? Your the flow of the entire conversation or whatever information you're giving should be correct. Then next is Trello and Asana. These are the software for project managements, right? Trello and Asana, a lot of people might not know about these softwares, but they are specifically for project management. Project management department is generally only in the offices which are handling huge, which are operating at a huge level, right? Next is Google Doc or Dropbox paper. Now, for what Google Docs and Dropbox is used is basically for document sharing and collaboration. Like earlier, what we used to do, we used to, have send everything to our clients on email. right? If I want to write a document, I'm going to write it on the Word doc and attach and send it to my customers or maybe my other team as an attachment in the email. But these days, Google Docs is something wherein I'm going to write down everything on the Google Doc and give the collaboration right or maybe the sharing right to the other person, which is easier. Why? Because पहले क्या करना पड़ता था, एक वर्ड डॉक के आपके पास कम से कम 10 से 15 डॉक्यूमेंट्स रेडी हो जाते थे, राइट? आपने एक वर्जन भेजा, फिर उन्होंने एक वर्जन भेजा। एक डॉक्यूमेंट अगर 5 लोगों के साथ शेयर हुआ है तो यू आर गेटिंग 5 डिफरेंट वर्जन फ्रॉम 5 डिफरेंट पीपल, which used to make it very messy and difficult to organize. Best is have Google Docs, give collaboration rights to the people that you would want to, and let them make the changes in the entire document. And then finally, you have the entire changed collaborative document, right? Then visuals. Logos of the mentioned tools should be arranged neatly. If you're doing any kind of, for example, if you're doing an internal communication wherein you want to inform your team also that okay, these are the these are the tools which we are going to use, you need to make sure that your visuals are arranged in the right way, right? Google Meet का आपने अगर visual आपने माइक्रो टीम कोलैबोरेशन में डाल दिया और कल को अगर कुछ मेस क्रिएट हुआ तो टीम की गलती नहीं होगी, राइट? बिकॉज यू हैव नॉट डन द अरेंजमेंट्स इन द राइट वे, राइट? एंड दीज डेज ना, because the attention span of people has reduced, you need to make sure that you're using the logos in the right place and the right way, because logos are something which retains, a lot of people have pictorial memory. when they see something, उनको ध्यान रहता है कि हाँ मैंने ये लोगो वहां पे देखा था, right? That if it is not done the right way, it might create a lot of problem for you. Now, communication during crisis. हम लोग बहुत बात करते हैं कि कम्युनिकेशन कैसा होना चाहिए, कैसा नहीं होना चाहिए, बट अगर हम किसी प्रॉब्लमेटिक सिचुएशन में है, उस टाइम पे हमारा कम्युनिकेशन बहुत 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 मैटर करता है। आप अगर एक पर्सनल स्पेस में भी हम लोग देखते हैं, इफ यूर इन अ पर्सनल स्पेस वेयर देयर इज अ क्राइसिस, when we are communicating it in the right way, the problem gets solved in a better and effective way, right? Same happens and same rule is applicable to our startups or our businesses. Whenever there's a crisis, any kind of crisis, it can be the product failure, it can be HR related issue, it can be finance related issue, whatever be the problem. Whenever there's a crisis, can be a small crisis, maybe between two team members, it can be a huge crisis about your entire product or everything, right? You need to make sure that during the crisis, first, transparency is there. Be honest and open about the challenges. If you feel there are any challenges, if you feel that so and so problems have occurred, please do not try to cover or please do not try to suppress it. Problem hai, the person who is in charge, the person who is actually handling the entire project, please make sure that you are telling them the entire problem in the most transparent way, right? Because when they know everything properly, they will be able to help you with the right thing. Okay. For example, we always say that whenever you're meeting the doctor, please do not hide anything from the doctor. Be open and transparent. Why? Because when you give them the right information, they will be able to do the right and apt diagnosis for you. But if you try to hide things, you are the one who will end up into problems. Same rule applies here. You have to be very open and honest about what information you are giving out to the person who's in charge of this. Empathy. You should be in a position to acknowledge feeling and concerns. This is where EQ comes into place, right? We always talk about IQ, IQ, IQ. IQ is okay, but EQ is very important. Emotional quotient is very important. You should know how to handle your emotions. You should know how to control the emotions, where to show the emotions, where to hold them back, where to be empathetic, where to be what. It is very important these days. There are a lot of, I would say, articles which are there on EQ, emotional question. I would just my suggestion, everybody should have one small read or a look through the entire document. It will help you change the way you look at things and the way you handle things, and it makes your life easier, especially in your workplace, right? So, empathy is very important. Timeliness. Communicate important updates quickly. For example, I have received a mail from my CA stating that we need to update so and so information to the finance department, right? And I have not communicated it to the right person. in the initial 2 days, and the deadline is gone, right? Because I did not give the information at the right time, the deadline has gone, and now my company is in a problem, right? So time is very important, very important. For example, when COVID came, a lot of people started manufacturing sanitizers and face masks, right? That was exactly the time people said, okay, this is the right time, let us just immediately start. And people actually, okay, that was something, sanitizers and face masks were extremely crucial during the COVID times. And we were having serious shortage of both of these things, right? But because there were people who took the action at the right time, they are the ones who actually supported it. And apart from having these big players who were the suppliers of sanitizers and I would say face masks, there were and a lot of small players that we would not even know about, who were contributing to the entire cause, right? So everything, not just communication, everything should be done at the right time. Procrastination will always create problems. Procrastination will always be the poison. So to make sure that you respect the timelines, you respect the deadlines, right? Now, again, if you're talking about using the, creating a crisis management plan for our organization, it should be very simple, illustrative, and people should be able to very easily understand. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ वी हैव टू वेरी स्मॉल एग्जाम्पल, ये हम सब लोगों ने देखा भी होगा, व्हेन वी गो टू एनी मॉल, राइट? इफ देर इज ऑलवेज एन इमरजेंसी एग्जिट प्लान, right? It should, and in some malls it is so confusing, you won't even understand ki bhai, where am I, how do I exit this mall, where are the exit pathways, I don't know, right? And by the time I would read and understand and find my exit, gone, I'm already into a problem, right? But at the same time, if you look at the exit doors in an aircraft, very clean. You know, there are two doors in the center, in the front, two exit doors at the rear, and there are four exit doors in the center, right? When you get in the flight, the air hostess or the staff who's there in charge, they are going to come and going to make you understand about the exit plans, the use of life-saving jackets in a very clear and precise manner in both Hindi and both English, right? So if somebody doesn't understand English, it's in Hindi. Somebody doesn't understand Hindi, it's in English, right? So so this is a very good example of how your entire crisis management plan should be. तो ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑल्सो आपको पता है कि हाँ, मेरे बिजनेस में ये 4-5 स्टैंडर्ड प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती है, उसका पहले से एक क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट प्लान बना लो। और वो आपकी टीम में जो भी इंपॉर्टेंट लोग हैं, पीपल हु आर स्टेक होल्डर्स और पीपल हु आर गोइंग टू हैंडल दैट पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन, शेयर इट विद देम। बी प्रिपेयर्ड। समटाइम्स वी से कि अरे वो जब आएगा तब देख लेंगे, वो जब आता है तो देखने का टाइम नहीं मिलता है, राइट? वी जस्ट हैव टू एक्ट। बट इफ यू आर planned, if you have if you've done the planning well in advance, it becomes easier for us to tackle that crisis in a better way. Okay, now interactive activity, that is communication scenarios. Now, role play real world communication challenges. Sometimes, if you know, okay, these are the problems that my product or a service can face, we should do. Okay, if I know that these are the kind of problems that my startup or my business can face, we should do a role play about it. Okay, this is a scenario जिसको जैसे हम हमें कभी इंटरव्यू के लिए जाना होता है, राइट? हम लोग मॉक इंटरव्यू करते हैं। मॉक इंटरव्यू क्या होता है? वी नो वी हैव टू गो फॉर एन इंटरव्यू, these are the possible questions that might be asked from me. I am having a mock in order to understand how I need to respond to these questions, how I need to respond to these tricky things that my interviewer might ask, right? That's a role play. Same way, we should do a role play of real world communication challenges. Giving you a very small example, when I was a small child in my early years of my school class, I think second or third, my communication wasn't that good, and my English wasn't that good. And I always used to feel ki yaar, what do I do? And I was in a convent school. right? So English is very important in convent schools. And I used to understand, I used to always feel that how do I learn talking, how do I learn speaking in English? How do I learn this language? Because in school, nobody is teaching you. They're just teaching you what's there in your syllabus book. And what I used to do from one of my teachers, somebody told me, stand in front of the mirror and read a newspaper. You understand, you will be able to see how you are communicating, how you are pronouncing the words, right? Second option is when you're speaking, record and listen. Record and listen. Why? Because that gives you a clear understanding of when I'm speaking something, how am I pronouncing those words? Is my pronunciation correct or not? Because if I do a wrong pronunciation, the other person on the receiving end, the listener will not understand, right? So this way, role play in the real world communication, it is very important. For example, delivering a tough news to harm. This is a good example. Delivering a tough news to a customer or team member. Now, if I know that I had to deliver, say, 100 units of my product to my customer by tonight, and I know that only my 80 products are ready, 20 units are not ready, I should know how to face the situation. I know if I'm into this deadline kind of a business, I can face these kind of scenarios, but I should be well prepared. I should know how I need to tackle my customer, how I need to inform this about this last moment issue in the right effective way, that the situation is balanced and the damage is least. You can't control the entire damage, but you can always look forward to reducing the degree of your damage, right? Visuals, uh, when you have to teach your team how to handle these kind of scenarios, always show them in the visual ways, right? So example, people are engaged in the role plays, if it is a physical role play, well and good. If you feel you can't have a physical role play, you want to put it on a paper or maybe on a presentation or whatever, put those blue speeches, like two people are there and then there are those bubbles on their heads. So this person is saying this person is saying this. Why? Because that, as we said, that the visuals play a very important role, right? So this is something we can do. Okay. So now if we head towards wrapping up this presentation, what are the key takeaways? Number one, that our communication should be clear. We should be consistent in our communication if we are talking about the success of our startup or our business, right? We should embrace the digital or technology tools available for collaborations and effective communication. Next, we should foster, that means we should encourage the culture of openness, feedbacks, trust. Why? Because feedbacks, openness, and trust is something which is going to help us and our organization grow, right? Now, if you want, if you feel okay that you need to, this is from the HR point of view, if HR needs to put across this entire thing to their team managers, then in that case they can have those check marks and icons of communication, because for the team members, the first point of contact is always their managers. HRs come later on, right? So from my end, the session stands over. I would want to know if anybody has any doubts, any questions. I am free to. I'll be happy to respond.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Yeah, I have one question, or I can say it's a small doubt.
Hmm.
Uh, as we all know that feedback is very important from the starting of a business or
Yeah.
startup, right?
Yeah.
In the initial stages when we do feasibility study and till the
Hmm.
product is launched.
Hmm.
Okay, but will it work, or it is very means it will work when there is a feedback? Feedback will work every time when there is a perfect competition. But what
As in.
about imperfect competition? Means there where there are many sellers and many buyers. So
Hmm.
you have to take feedback from every customer or to improve yourself. But
Hmm.
how about means in the situation where there is oligopolistic competition or monopolistic competition? That time only
Hmm.
one way communication is done by the seller,
Hmm.
So how to means this situation, how to handle this situation, kind of situation.
See, in this scenario, even if you are in a monopolistic kind of business, I don't know what kind of business or startup you're into, because monopolistic or monopoly is very difficult in India, especially, right? So I don't think so. These days, any startup can be a monopoly. But even if that be the scenario, your best feedback will come from your customer. And it will never happen that your customer would not know what to communicate and what is the feedback to be given. I'll give you a small example. If we talk about railways, Indian Railways, Indian Railways is a monopoly, right? In India, there is no other railway operating apart from Indian Railway. It's not commercialized, no other company is given any contract of running the railways in India. Still, there's so much of feedback that comes from the customers who are using that rail service to go from A point to B point, right? There's a lot of feedback that comes from them, which is always communicated to the stakeholders of railways. In the same way, even if you're in a monopolistic or oligopolistic kind of market, you will still always have end user who's going to use your product and who will always have a feedback about the product. You need to keep your eyes and ears open in order to understand. See, understand one thing, a lot of time it happens that people might give you a feedback, but they might not give you in a very direct way, right? You have to learn or maybe understand how to read between the lines. Not always in a very extremely critical way, but you need to understand, okay, if my customer has told me this in a very subtle way, what could be their thought process, or what could be the hidden message in this particular scenario. So it is very important for you to be a good listener, as I said. And talking about the feedback, even in monopolistic business, as I said, you will always have your end user giving you feedbacks. You should be, uh, I would say, if I would put it in the right way, you should be uh, you should be there with a very open mind to accept it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Any other question?
But it will take time, I think so. Means to just convert, means take to feedback and to improvise your mindset that your customers are giving you feedback.
Hmm.
You should improve yourself or you
देखो,
should change yourself. So why
हाँ,
the time is taken,
yes,
lots of time will be taken for that.
no, I'll tell you what. मैं एक बहुत क्लियर आपको आराम एक क्लियर वे में मैं आपको बताती हूँ। अगर आपको पता है कि आप अभी इस टाइम पे फीडबैक्स को एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए रेडी नहीं हो, अगर आपके अंदर वो कॉन्शियसनेस है, आपके अंदर खुद को लेके वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, आप खुद को बार बार रिकॉल कराते रहो कि अगर मेरे कस्टमर ने मुझे बोला तो इसका मतलब ये एक फीडबैक है। हमें अपना माइंडसेट, हमें अपना कुछ भी अगर हमें अपने अंदर चेंज करना है, वो चेंज करने के लिए मैक्सिमम 1 महीने का टाइम चाहिए कॉन्शियसली। आपको कॉन्शियसली अगर आपके बारे में कुछ चेंज करना है, आपको पता है कि हाँ यार, ये चीज ना मुझे इस तरीके से नहीं और इस तरीके से परसीव करनी चाहिए, या मुझे अपना इस चीज को लेके ये थॉट प्रोसेस रखना है। अगर आपने वो चीज आइडेंटिफाई कर ली, अगर आपने वो चीज फाइंड आउट कर ली, आपको कॉन्शियसली एफर्ट डाल के 1 महीने से 21 डेज का टाइम लगता है, राइट? बट हम 1 मंथ लेके चलते हैं। आपको 1 महीने से ऊपर का टाइम नहीं लगेगा अपने आप को या अपने उस थॉट प्रोसेस को चेंज करने में, राइट? आपको पता है कि हाँ, मेरा मेरा ये प्रोडक्ट है और मुझे ये टाइप के कस्टमर से ये फीडबैक आ सकता है, या मुझे ऐसी बातें सुनने को मिल रही हैं। उस चीज को एक्सेप्ट करो और समझो। बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस फेल कहाँ होते हैं ना, जब कस्टमर उनको फीडबैक दे रहा है तो वो उस फीडबैक को एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते, वो बोलते हैं मेरा प्रोडक्ट ठीक है, मेरे प्रोडक्ट में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। अगर हम ओपन माइंडेड नहीं है चीजों को एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए, अगर हम ओपन माइंडेड नहीं है चीजों को रिसीव करने के लिए, हम कभी ग्रो नहीं कर पाएंगे। एंड ऑनेस्टली, अभी ये जो सेशन है, अगर इसमें से इफ एनी स्पीकर गिव्स मी एनी काइंड ऑफ अ फीडबैक, आई विल नॉट गेट ऑफेंडेड, आई विल बी मोर देन हैप्पी टू एक्सेप्ट इट, क्योंकि मेरे को लगेगा कि हाँ यार, मैंने शायद ये चीज वहां ठीक नहीं करी, नेक्स्ट टाइम मैं इस चीज का ध्यान रखूँ। दैट्स हाउ वी ऑल ग्रो, राइट? हम लोग हमेशा से ऐसे नहीं है, हम लोग ग्रो करते हैं। ओवर द years. ग्रो हम कैसे करेंगे? अगर मुझे ये लग रहा है कि मैं परफेक्ट हूँ, एकदम सही हूँ, I will never be able to grow. But if I know कि okay, this is where I am lacking, let me work on this, right? That is where we will grow. And for a startup and for a startup founder, it is very, 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 very important to have an open mind to accept what is being said by the stakeholders. बहुत जरूरी है. मैंने बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस को क्रैश होते हुए देखा है, क्योंकि जो फाउंडर है वो एक्सेप्टेंस के मोड में ही नहीं है कि मेरे प्रोडक्ट में या मेरे सर्विस में या मेरे पूरे पूरे सिस्टम में कहीं पे भी इशू है. वो हो जाता है, लगता है लोगों को, बट ऐसा नहीं होता है. कंफ्यूजन होती हैं, इश्यूज होते हैं, कोई भी जानबूझ के खराब नहीं करेगा, बट बाय चांस हो जाती हैं चीजें. तो आपको उतना ओपन माइंडेडनेस रखना है एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए कि हाँ ये मेरी गलती है, या फिर मे बी ये एक जगह है जहाँ पे मेरा प्रोडक्ट या सर्विस लैक कर रहा है. लेट मी फोकस एंड मेक दिस करेक्ट. और आप कॉन्शियसली करोगे ना, तो 30 डेज में उस चीज को धीरे धीरे चेंज करोगे. और आपको ना एक टाइम के रियलाइज होगा कि अरे हाँ यार, वो मैंने सोचा था ना उस बारे में, ओके दिस इज वेयर. कैसा होता है, हम सोचते हैं ना कि यार मुझे ये चीज देखनी है, तो हमको वो चीजें दिखनी शुरू होती हैं. वो चीजें ट्रू हैं, साइकोलॉजिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से दैट्स ट्रू. सो दैट्स हाउ यू कैन चेंज योरसेल्फ.
Very nicely said, ma'am. True. Thank you.
थैंक यू. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस?
No anyone question. So participant propose the vote option. I think roll number 37, 37 and 36. Anyone?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It's my immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks of this program. I am Professor Jaya Prakash Ambure, having the roll number 37. Now, it's a time to thanks to our guest, Miss Abhishree Moore, ma'am. She is giving the very much important information about the importance of how to develop the effective business communication. She also tell us how we communicate proper to develop during startup stage. So thank you so much, ma'am. We all are enthusiastically participate in your lecture. Uh, I am very thankful to you, listen you. On the behalf of all participate, I thankful to you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.